Hello everyone and welcome to another Thoughts and Opinions video. Continuing the Pokemon trend, we will be in Generation 6. Okay, what's the region name? Which housed the... Let's see, Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos. There we go. Which housed the Kalos region, which was a region based on France this time around. Now, what do I think about these games, which house X and Y and the Generation 3 remakes Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which were basically on the Nintendo 3DS? Now, what do I think? Let's see. We'll start with all the same as always. In the story this time, you're basically a 10-year-old kid. Again, going through the Pokemon region yet again, defeating the 6 gyms and defeating the Elite Four. But this time you have a group of friends this time. Not just one rival like in Generations 1, 2, 3, and 2 rivals in Generation 3 and 4. Actually, Generations 3, 4, and 5 had 2 rivals. Actually, Generation 5 had 3. Too many rivals. But this time you had a group of friends this time, which were basically the opposite gender of what you didn't pick. Shauna, Tierno, and Trevor. I think that is his name. And basically you just power on with your friends as you try to stop Team Flare and Lysander. Yeah, I gotta admit that Team Flare is one of the weakest teams I've ever seen out there. Gameplay and everything, but let's start graphics. Graphics are amazing. Since the move to the 3DS really treated some Pokemon well, especially with some of their cries. Others kind of got worse. I mean, literally, Pelipper sounds like he's warped, and freaking Ekans sounds like he has a horn in his, like one of those cheap blowhorns in his mouth. Like, ah, it's so weird. Now we have up to, basically, this point, 700 Pokemon. Now, let's see. But now the gameplay elements. I gotta admit, Generation 6 was one of the most hyped of all times. Especially with the new introduction of Mega Evolutions. And basically, Game Freak confirming it all, basically, that there's multiple timelines in each version of their own game. In each version, and it's basically a separate game they shipped out, basically their own little parallel dimension, basically, parallel universe. So basically parallel universes are a thing in Pokemon. And this was really hammered through with X and Y taking the Mega Evolution route and diverging from one big timeline to another. Pokemon that could never Mega Evolve before, but now they could, because the timeline branched out, basically. And this just makes it all more confusing, to be honest. Generation 6 kind of fucked a lot of things up. Not only were the games insultingly easy to go through, trainers barely had 2, 3 Pokemon at max. If you're Elite Four, you got 4. And with the introduction of the experience point share being a key item now, and splitting experience to your own, to all of your party, this kind of created a very easygoing experience to where X and Y became the most insultingly easy games I've ever played of all time. I didn't have to work at it. I literally swept everyone and just said, it just gave the middle finger to everyone, and the story basically suffered because of it. I thought Team Flare was insultingly easy. I thought Lysander was insultingly easy. I could not get behind this story whatsoever and what they were trying to sell. I mean, it's not the worst story, but it's technically, thanks to how Game Freak made these games so easy, and it even extended to Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which pretty much trashed the Hoenn region. And the Hoenn region was my third favorite region of all time. And the fact that they trashed it that much by making the games insultingly easy, that was a hard thing to do. Yeah, basically, I had one of the easiest times, and pretty much I hate Generation 6 because of it. You know, it took me the longest time to assemble all the Pokemon in that game because, you know, it has one of the biggest motherfucking Pokedexes of all time in that game. There was a lot of things wrong with it. They introduced new affection, basically, which says how, and the new fairy typing, which is how you get the new Pokemon Sylveon and all that stuff. Then they introduced a new way to train your Eevees and your Eevees for the first time, which was, to be honest, that was needed. That was one of the better versions of the game. But the first two games of the thing pushed the 3D to its limits already. And that's where the things kind of go down, because Generation 6, it was one of the most hyped generations of all time, and yet it was insultingly easy, basically. I pretty much hate Generation 6 with a lot of passion. I mean, I get what they were trying to do here, and even with new character customization in X and Y, which was taken away in Ruby and Sapphire, don't know why they did that. Or Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, don't know why they did that. It's a little weird, but either way. Things for just Generation 6 were just, they were not fun. It was not. I barely basically invested myself in any of the thing. After I got done with Pokemon, with all the Pokemon stuff, I kind of packed the games away and never opened them up again since. I don't ever plan on going back either. And but this is, but even especially with a generation, especially when you're coming off a generation like Generation 5, you have to do a hell of a lot to pretty much to even be considered at least decently playable. A lot of people hold Generation 6 in high regard because of how hyped it was, and I think people are putting this thing on too high of a pedestal, to be honest. It needs to be knocked down a few pegs, because it really wasn't that great. I mean, this is the generation that gave you key rings as a Pokemon, and yet people didn't make fun of this design. Yet they didn't like ice cream and a chandelier. What is wrong with the Pokemon community sometimes, I would think? Like, they make fun of a chandelier and ice cream, and yet they don't. I wonder if there's anyone who actually genuinely hates Klefki just because he's a key ring. He's a key ring with keys on it. He's a fairy type too. Like I said, that was a new concept with the new typing, basically. Of course, that doesn't exist in the old generations. Basically, that's the non-Mega Universe timeline, which doesn't have fairies. I guess fairies died out in that one, and after that, Clefairy and everyone else adapted to be normal or water or whatever the hell they were. Post-game, there really wasn't much post-game for X and Y besides the looker missions, and that kind of sucked. That is another reason why I don't hold the Generation 6 in high regards at all. But Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire kind of helped, but if Game Freak didn't completely spoil and butcher it, it would have been a hell of a lot better. They spoiled the Delta episode at the time, which took all the hype out of it, to be honest, and made pretty much pulled Generation 6 down to where it is now. So basically, Game Freak did a lot of things in this one. They overhyped two of the worst games of all time, and they underhyped, and they overshowed everything in the trailers inside Pokemon, inside Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. And because of that, this made this one of the worst generations I've ever played. It's not bare bones bottom, but still, it's pretty down there. Now, where's my ranking for these games? Generation 1, 6th place. Generation 2, 4th place. Generation 3, 3rd place. Generation 4, 7th place. Generation 5, 1st place. Generation 6 is 5th place. It's above Generation 1 and Generation 4 still, but basically if something were to happen, it could actually, Generation 6 could actually knock down a few pigs if something is found redeemable within the other two. But beyond that, people overpraise this game, just like they overpraise Generation 1 and overpraise Generation 4. The bottom three were generations which I hate, and I hate people putting them on pedestals and then knocking down Black and White like it's nothing. It's dumb and I hate it. Well, I guess we can give it a score of 5 out of 10 because it really wasn't that bad, but at the same time, X and Y were like, if I had to like place each games in order, I would place X and Y below Diamond and Pearl. Diamond and Pearl had some substance in it by themselves. X and Y completely beats the crap out of it. So, yeah. So basically, that's what I think. If I had to reach each generation game, the X and Y would actually be below Diamond and Pearl, because, to be honest, even though Generation 4 was a slow generation, I still consider Diamond and Pearl to be better than X and Y. Well, what did you think? Is Generation 6 one of your favorites? Or do you hate it just as much as I do? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, because I like hearing about other people's comments and all stuff. I like reading it. As long as you're civil about it and don't use some stuff like that one guy who called me a glorified weeaboo F-word, basically. Which pretty much meant, for me, pretty much basically was saying I was gay, basically. You know, that word. Yeah, that guy, I had to take his comment off because he was really dumb. I don't know why people don't make that system about it. Anyway, subscribe if you liked and share for more. Next time we'll be discussing Generation 7. Like I said, remember, hit the bell so you know when these videos drop. Until next time, I'm discussing Generation 7. Have a good one.